Hello, my name is Amy Wheeler, and I'm a yoga therapist and director of Optimal State Yoga Therapy. And today I would love to talk to you about daily self-care for pain management. And before I get started, I just want to thank HealthFlix and Heather and all the people that are contributing to this. I've been watching all of you all day long, and it's just been such a pleasure to see so many people giving and receiving during this very difficult time that we're facing as a global community. So what I'd like to do with us today, we have about 45 minutes, and the teacher in me needs to lay out for you what's about to happen. We're going to lecture for about 15 minutes and then have a little mini 5-minute breath and movement practice, lecture for a couple, maybe 10 more minutes, do another 10-minute breath and meditation practice, and then hopefully we'll have some time for questions. So I'm really looking forward to this, and I guess we should go ahead and get started. So first of all, if you want to contact me about anything in this little lecture that I'm giving, feel free. You can find me at www.amywheeler.com. And I am just so passionate about self-care for pain management. And the reason is that I myself have had some chronic pain, and I've worked with many, many clients throughout the years to help them figure out their chronic pain. And I think one of the things from a more Western perspective, because I'm going to be talking in Western perspective, but then I'm also going to be getting into some more Eastern yogic and Ayurvedic teachings. But as I start with the Western perspective, I think the most difficult thing for my clients and for me was that, you know, when we're in pain or chronic pain, there's so many causes. It's very multifactorial. And this makes it really difficult because sometimes you know what caused the pain, and other times it's just a complete mystery. You have no idea what caused the pain. And so figuring out which combination of factors has impacted you to cause pain on a certain day becomes very complex, because one day it could be the weather. Another day it could be that I have been sitting in my chair for 8 hours with poor posture and I didn't drink any water all day long and I got completely dehydrated. Another day it could be that I just simply didn't get any sleep and my body is just aching, maybe because I only got 4 hours of sleep. Another day it could be that I kind of went crazy and started eating a bunch of processed foods because I was really stressed out. Another day it could be that I went for a hike and my sacroiliac joint got kind of out of whack and didn't balance itself after the walk. It could even be undigested emotional problems that we have that we just can't really deal with, and our whole nervous system kind of seizes up and gets what I call prana prakopa, angry prana in the body. And sometimes it's just that my entire autonomic nervous system has gone into a very high sympathetic response and I can't get out. I would love to get down into the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest, digest, relaxation response, but I'm so high strung and so worried about things that I can't get myself down, even though I know how to. And I've seen this in my clients too, that figuring out this multifactorial causes and figuring out what happened on what day, when did I overwork, when did I move some furniture when I shouldn't have, it's actually quite a complicated process. And that's why I think having a yoga therapist help to kind of dissect this puzzle and figure out, okay, here's the 3 or 4 main ways that my body goes into spasm and experiences chronic pain, or my nervous system gets really unhappy and I experience chronic pain. So what I call a yoga therapist is a lifestyle medicine health coach, in that we look at the whole system. We looked at all the layers of the human system, the physical layer, the breath, the mind, the personality, the life experiences, the emotions, maybe even our spiritual connection or lack of spiritual connection. And when we look at all these different layers and how they are interrelated, and how when I'm stressed out, I forget to drink water and I'm sitting at my computer too long for 10 hours and then my body hurts, we see that all of these different layers of the human system are very connected. And that comes to us from the teachings of the Upanishads. So one of the things about yoga therapy is we're always going back to these very ancient teachings that have survived thousands of years, which is pretty impressive. So I think one of the things that we can do is put like an infographic like this you're seeing on the screen. I actually print these off, and I'm going to offer them to you. If you'd like to have copies, you can email me at the end. I basically print these off and put them around my house. I have one in my refrigerator. I have one in my bathroom. I have one in a folder by my bed that I can look at and be like, okay, what the heck happened to me today? And that's what I ask my clients to do too, is to start to have self-awareness, start to have more interoception, which just basically means I'm sensing and feeling the sensations in my body, and I kind of understand where it's tight, where it feels contracted, where the pain is originating from. Is the pain deep or is the pain superficial? Does it come on fast? Does it kind of come on over a number of days? Really starting to understand, is it when I wake up in the morning that's when I have the pain, but then when I get moving, then it kind of dissipates. So the goal is for first the yoga therapist to help the student or the client in looking at all these multifactorial causes, but eventually the goal is to give the responsibility to the person for them to start doing this self-analysis, self-awareness, and maybe even tracking some of it. Tracking like, okay, these are the things I did yesterday, and now today I'm not feeling so well. And start looking at the patterns of, is it the weather? Is it muscle imbalances after a hard workout that I had no business doing? Is it maybe the foods I ate? Is it me getting stressed out and my autonomic nervous system flaring up? Those types of things are part of the yoga therapy process, to ask people to take some responsibility for their health and to help them figure out, okay, then what do I need to do about this? When I, go back into my old patterns and sit at my desk too long and don't drink enough water all day, how do then I change directions? In yoga, we call this pratipaksha bhavana. How do we get a new habitual pattern, a new samskara in the body and the mind and the spirit? And as we teach our clients and our students to do this for themselves, they need us less and less. And I think that's something really unique about yoga therapy as a healthcare modality, is that we want the student to become independent of us. We want them to become empowered and inspired to take responsibility for their own life. That when they notice, 3 cups of coffee just completely sent my body into spasm, maybe I should only have 1 cup of coffee, and start working their way back and having more self-awareness about how their activities and their behaviors impact them, and then making the changes for themselves. At first, of course, they need a lot of hand-holding, they need structure, they need someone to show them the map of how to look at these things, but then eventually they start to be able to figure this out for themselves. And they can even figure out in what seasons of the year do I need this set of health change behaviors. And maybe in a different season, I need something completely different. Or the foods that I eat in one season versus the other. Or it could be times of day. If I get up and move early in the morning, I feel better all day long and my pain subsides. Or nope, I need a very slow start to the day and I have to get in the bathtub and get a warm bath and then I can move. All of these teachings that yoga therapists offer come from yoga and Ayurveda. There are reasons why we would ask you to get up and get a nice sweaty workout in first thing versus gently meander your way into a hot bath. And at the end of the lecture today, I'll kind of show you the different types of pain from a perspective of yoga and Ayurveda. But for now, let's kind of stay with this Western approach, the multifactorial analysis of your causes, and then figuring out, okay, for my pain in this season at this time of day, I need to do what? Do I need to increase circulation? Do I need to build some heat in my body? Do I need to get in the bathtub and then get on the treadmill? Some people even find that light weights helps them kind of overcome their pain. Other people find that the only thing that makes their pain feel better is lying down in bed and doing something like a yoga nidra and really relaxing the autonomic nervous system. I've had other people that drinking warm water, and we have a reason for that in yoga and Ayurveda, but drinking warm water helps them to reduce their pain, not just in the acute setting, but also over the long haul. We as yoga therapists might also help someone with their sleep and try to help them get to bed at a certain time so that they can get a really good night's sleep and get up at a reasonable time in the morning. We might realize that they need to improve their posture and that through their posture, they're actually hurting quite a bit. So I just started classes back at the university, and we're doing everything online this semester. And it's very stressful to take everything that we've taught for 20 years and now get it online and boom, be ready to go. So one day this week, I found myself hunched over my computer with poor posture for 8 hours. And I apparently had been leaning over to the right the whole time, which I wasn't aware of because I didn't have good interoception. I didn't have good proprioception, which is how my body is moving and holding itself in space. I didn't drink water all day. I didn't eat all day. I was very stressed out with all the technology, and I had a terrible pain day the next day, a big relapse. And this is coming from someone who teaches this stuff for a living. So I had to do the reset. I had to get up the next morning and be like, okay, we're not doing that anymore. We are going to do movement first thing in the morning. We're going to take that bath or get in the sauna. We're going to fill up the water jugs. We're going to put some soup on the stove and have it ready for those breaks between classes, and doing less sitting, using my standing to sitting desk, and doing a little bit of yoga asana in between my class sessions, and really finding a way to take care of myself all day long. And that's really the key. That's really what we as yoga therapists are trying to help people figure out for themselves. Now, another thing that, if we kind of go down to the micro level from a yoga therapy perspective, we say that our superpower as yoga therapists is to help people balance their autonomic nervous system. There's a lot of people out there doing PT or OT or psychology, and maybe they use some of the yoga tools in their practices. But we as yoga therapists, we really, really understand this in a very beautiful way. And we know how to help people get down out of that sympathetic response and bring themselves back to a place of calm, connected, feeling their body, being present to their body, listening to their body. So this little infographic that I have here basically shows that we would love for people to kind of live somewhere between the relaxation response, the rest and digest, way down in the parasympathetic nervous system, and kind of throughout the day have these cycles where you feel alert and awake and focused and productive. And then you cycle down back into the parasympathetic. You take a break, you go for a walk, or you lie down for a little bit, and then you come back up and get into your sympathetic just a little bit. And you just kind of cycle throughout the day. We want the nervous system to do those cycles throughout the day. But what many people who are in pain are experiencing in their lives is that if you look at numbers 3, 4, 5, they're in this, what we call fight mode, where they're like a blowtorch. They're going to get it done. They are perfectionistic. They are type A personality. They're going to get 3 times more done than anyone else on earth in a 2-hour block of time. And when we get that productive, we also lose contact with our body. We don't listen. We don't hear the body crying out for food or for water or to go to the bathroom. I think a lot of our healthcare workers or teachers or nurses, people who are in the healing and healthcare field, our jobs actually require that we do ignore all those body signals and stay focused like a blowtorch and get the job done and under all circumstances. So in this way, we're actually training the body not to talk to us. We're saying, you know what, I can't listen to you right now. I've got something to do. And that obviously is not a very healthy way to be, and can very easily lead to a number of disease pathologies, but especially chronic pain. Now, there are some people that are in their sympathetic nervous system even more. I'm going to say a 6, 7, 8. And this is what we call the eject button, or the flight, meaning if you can't fight, you're going to eject, meaning eject from your body. You're still there physically. People are still talking to you, but you almost disembody in order to be able to tolerate whatever's happening to you in a stressful situation. And we see people that basically live from the neck up. The mind is kind of in charge, and we just kind of shut down all feelings in the body. And this is a very strong sympathetic nervous system response. And if it goes even higher, up into the 9s and 10s, now your brain is completely ejecting too. You feel scattered, you feel spacey, you can't focus, you can't concentrate. And this also means that you're really high up in your sympathetic nervous system. And what we're trying to do is teach people how to come out. Excuse me. I'm modeling good behavior for you by having water here. Very dry throat today. So if we go even higher, meaning we are in such a state, such a situation that our nervous systems cannot respond, now we go into freeze, where basically our body is frozen. And a lot of people that I work with who have chronic pain, they're actually living somewhere between a 5 and a 10 plus, meaning every day of their life, they are going between complete perfectionistic blowtorch, 110 miles an hour, into disembodiment and maybe even freeze throughout the day. So instead of cycling down by the relaxation response into alertness and back down and cycling there, they're actually cycling from a 5 through a 10 throughout the day. And that, unfortunately, really causes people to disembody and not feel anything until they feel the pain. There has been a complete disconnection between the brain and the body. And at that point, it's almost as if the brain is just sending pain signals to get your attention, just all the time, no matter what you do. Listen, listen, listen. I want to get your attention, so I'm going to send you pain signals. So a lot of what I'm doing as a yoga therapist and helping people to learn to do for themselves is to manage their autonomic nervous system and start doing some of these pain management strategies that we're talking about, knowing when you need water, like I do right now. Excuse me. And really knowing when you haven't digested your emotions, knowing when you haven't, eaten the right foods, knowing that you need to get up from your desk and increase some circulation, knowing when you've been under too much stress for too long. So let's just take a moment and do a little practice with a breathing technique that will help us take ourselves out of this fight at a 5 or flight as an 8. Let's see if we can't do some breathing techniques that will help us to kind of reconnect to ourselves and come back into our bodies and start listening again. And a lot of times I like to do breathing techniques that have a little bit of movement associated with them so that I can make the breath kind of more gross, more tangible. So if you're ready, go ahead and sit comfortably in a chair, making sure that you feel very nice and grounded. I like to bring my legs apart a little bit so that I feel my feet on the floor and I feel a very stable base for myself. And then just sitting comfortably. If you like, you can close your eyes, but if you'd rather keep them open, that's fine too. And then on the inhalation, just let the arms float up on the inhalation, maybe a little back bend. And then through the nose on the exhalation, exhale, 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 exhale. That's a long, slow exhalation. Let's do it again. Inhale through the nose. See if you can make your exhalation longer than your inhalation as you lower your arms, timing your breath and your movement. One more time, just like that. Inhale. Long, slow exhalation. The longer you can make the breath, we hope you will kind of drop into your parasympathetic nervous system. One more time. Inhale. And exhale. So making that exhalation longer than your inhalation is one way, but we can also add a pause at the bottom of the exhalation. So let's try a few of those. This time, let's not do the movement. We kind of got the movement down, and let's see if we can't just do it with the breath, the nose, the focus. Okay, so again, eyes can be closed or open, your choice. Inhale through the nose. Exhale through the nose, slow it down. And then find a little pause at the bottom of the exhalation. Inhale through the nose. Exhale, long and slow. Pause at the bottom of the exhalation before you take the next breath in. 2 more times. Last one. And when you feel ready, open your eyes and just notice how you feel. That long, slow exhalation, and if possible, to put a little pause at the bottom of the exhalation. For many, many people, that is very soothing, very relaxing. It's very comforting. Now, if it is not for you, that just means that that breathing technique wasn't for you. And this is in yoga therapy why we individualize it. So if you are my client, I would then have a conversation about how was that for you? Did that comfort you? Did that soothe you? Or did you feel panicky because you didn't have any breath? And we would figure out the right practice for you. But in general, we say a long exhale with a pause at the bottom kind of dials down the nervous system out of those higher sympathetic responses. And although it's individualized, we usually start with something like this, either with a actual asana or postures in practice, or just with the breathing like we just did. And we try to use the breath as a dial to kind of bring it down. And then what I ask people to do again is put these little infographics, I'd say print these off and put them around your house and check in with yourself and see where you are. See if you're feeling disembodied one day or 1 hour. See if you're in that blowtorch fight kind of mood for hours on end. Notice when you start to feel frozen. Notice when you're in the relaxation response, and trying to help people begin to live at a lower level where they can cycle through relaxation response 1 to alert throughout their whole day and allow the nervous system to do its natural cycle instead of getting stuck up so high. So, if we kind of go back to our previous infographics, I have regulate the autonomic nervous system up here in the corner in this little green circle. And, that's just one of the things that we do, but I really do think it's one of our superpowers, and that breathing techniques and yoga postures and meditation are some of the best tools that we have, the primary tools that we have as yoga therapists and yoga teachers to help people regulate their autonomic nervous system. The last thing I want to say about this before we move on is that we actually are not looking to drop people into their parasympathetic nervous system all the time. We can't live down there. We would be so unproductive. So this idea that everybody needs to be in the parasympathetic nervous system all the time, I don't agree with that. I think it's managing the sympathetic and the parasympathetic and using the right one at the right time and learning that, wow, I need to be alert and up and focused, but my body is having this response of fight or flight or disembodiment. Maybe my nervous system is overreacting to the actual situation in front of me, or maybe it's not. But if it is, can I use my breathing? Can I use my meditation? Can I use my asana postures to kind of soothe myself and bring myself back down? All right, so a lot of Western doctors would understand these concepts and hopefully agree with them. Now I'm going to take you in a little bit different direction, and this has to do with what we call Ayurveda, and looking at pain sensations from more of an Ayurvedic perspective, and knowing that there are actually different kinds of pain depending on what's going on in the body. That there are some people at some times of day, some seasons of the year, that their pain just comes on very quickly. It's just like you feel fine one minute and then boom, you don't feel fine. Or you have pain in your right knee for 2 days and then an hour later, the pain is completely gone in your right knee. And you're like, wow, what just happened? But then a few hours after that, your left knee starts hurting all of a sudden. Right? This is what we call vata type pain. It can be sharp, it can be shooting. It usually comes on quickly out of the blue, and then it goes away quickly. And we're just like, what happened here? It's oftentimes on the superficial layers of the body. You can kind of feel the shooting or the throbbing on the most superficial surface of the body. And for that type of pain in yoga and Ayurveda, we would do something different than, say, this blue type of pain down here, which is very, very deep. It feels like the pain is right along the bones inside of you. And it goes into one place like your SI joint or your knee or your low back, and it just aches for days. It comes on more slowly. It's very dense. It's very dull. It lasts, and you're like, when is this going to be over? I've been on my back for 4 days. I can't believe this is still hurting. And like I said, it just remains in one deep place in your body. And for that, we would do something very different as yoga therapists. If you have that kind of pain, I'm going to ask you to do a completely different type of practice than if you have the white zone type that comes on really quickly and is kind of shooting and throbbing and superficial. You could also have, a different type of pain that's more heat related, that is more about inflammation. It's really intense. It's really sharp. It is usually in one place in the body. It comes on a little quicker than the blue, a little slower than the white. It comes on over a few hours. Okay, first you feel a little like, ooh, there's a twinge. What's that about? And then a few hours later, you're like, wow, I think this really hurts. But it also leaves in that kind of cadence too, that it starts to feel a little bit better and a little bit better. And okay, now I'm back to normal. And so once again, with this type of pain, we would use a different approach. So for me, when I use these charts that I've made around pain sensations, I'm, number one, helping my clients to have more interoception and to check in with themselves. But also when they tell me and I say, which ones of these actually make most sense to you about the sensations and the feelings you're having in your body, that helps me understand what's going on in their body from the yogic and Ayurvedic perspective. And then that helps me to have these pain solutions, right? To understand that if they've had that white or vata type pain, they probably need rest, they need stillness, they need less stress, less movement, less travel. I'm going to add warmth, maybe give them a heating pad, moist, unctuous food that's really well cooked. I'm going to have them drink hot water all day. And that is going to help soothe their pain very differently than someone who has what I call blue type pain, kapha type pain. They also need hot water and they also need warmth. So a sauna, a bath, a heating pad, but they also need to move. With this type of pain, the more still they have, the more lethargy they have, the less they move, the worse they feel. And that's very confusing because for some people, movement makes it better, and for other people, movement makes it worse. But for this type of pain, we have to move them. Even if they have to start by getting in a bathtub in the morning to warm things up and then go work out or do their asana practice, then that's what we need to do. So for the blue, we have to move, we have to exercise, we have to build heat, we have to sweat, especially in the springtime. You know, the different seasons matter too. And then when we look at the more red or pitta type pain, it's a little bit similar to the white or the vata, where they do need a little more rest. They need to slow down. They don't need to go to complete stillness. They just need to stop hurrying through everything. They need to be more mindful, more compassionate with themselves. They need to decrease their stress and be less productive, get less done. They need to enjoy life more. They need to do more hobbies and fun and sweetness and nourishment, decreasing inflammation, decreasing anger, impatience, intolerance, frustration, and resentment. All those things matter when it comes to red zone or pitta type pain. So I just wanted to show this to you today because I think that for a lot of Westerners, they're not really looking at the Ayurvedic approach to pain. And I think it actually works so beautifully. And that I wish more doctors and nurses and people out there would start looking at pain management from the Western allopathic medicine, but also let's use this ancient knowledge from thousands of years ago to help with the pain also. If you would like some of these infographics to use for yourself, for self-regulation or self-awareness, you can always email me at yoga@amywheeler.com. Use them with your clients. I'm hoping that we can get this information out there and really help people to feel better. So I'd like to do just a little bit of meditation together. This meditation that I'm going to do is from an Ayurvedic perspective. And it's interesting because in Ayurveda, we say that one of the main causes of pain, of emotional or of distress, of suffering, is this inability to digest our emotions. That there are some things in life, maybe you're feeling that right now, that are just too difficult to take on and digest. So I'd just like to take a few minutes, and then we'll still have time for questions, to take you through a very mini Ayurvedic meditation on the digestion of emotions. And this might be a little bit different for you. So just give it a try, be open-minded, and see what you think. All right. So once again, get in a comfortable seated position. Get a nice wide base so you can feel comfortable and stable and solid. And again, you can either have your eyes closed or you can open your eyes just a little bit. And just begin with a few slow, easy exhalations to see if you can get into your parasympathetic nervous system. And I'd like you to imagine that you are cooking. Imagine that you're cooking. And we're going to make broccoli soup, warm, nourishing broccoli soup, very healthy. And imagine yourself at the kitchen counter with a cutting board and a nice sharp knife and a big head of broccoli. And this broccoli is symbolic of something that's been very, very difficult for you to digest. Maybe that's your financial future. Maybe that's worrying about your children. Maybe that's a health issue you have. But just imagine this big head of broccoli is symbolic of something that you're having trouble digesting emotionally. I'd just like you to take your big knife and just start chopping away at that broccoli and just take big slices of it and break it down into smaller and smaller and smaller pieces and pull it apart and get more pieces into smaller and smaller. And for me, when I do this in my mind's eye, I sometimes do it lying down. It takes me 20 minutes to chop up all that broccoli. We don't have that much time today, but you can imagine how long it will take to get the broccoli to be in tiny, tiny little pieces. And so if you're watching this video at another time, you can stop the tape now and just chop it up and chop it up and chop it up into smaller and smaller pieces. But in real time, I'd also like you to imagine a nice pot of broth simmering on the stove, nice and hot. I'd like you to take big handfuls of the tiny, tiny little pieces of broccoli and put it in your pot and just grab broccoli and put it in the pot and grab broccoli and get every last piece from the cutting board and get all that broccoli in the pot. And then begin to stir the chunks of coarse, hard broccoli and smell that broth and watch the broccoli begin to soften. And again, if you're doing this at home, you could always stop the tape for 10 minutes and stir the broth and stir the broccoli and really soften it, cook it. And cook it all the way down until it's so soft and so easy to digest. And again, remember, this is symbolic of something that's very emotionally difficult for you to digest. And you're cooking it down and cooking it down and cooking it down. And here's the most interesting part, is you're going to take a ladle in your mind's eye of this soup. Now remember, this soup could be your disease. This could be your financial future. This could be many, many things that are really hard for you. They're now cooked down. And you're going to take that ladle and pour yourself a cup of soup. And you're going to drink it, which is a very strange thought, that you're going to take that problem that you couldn't digest, and now you're going to drink it, and it's going to be nourishment for you. Because once you cook and cook and cook and cook these very difficult parts of your life, and you chop them up and you digest them and you cook them, ultimately, one day, they are nourishing. We let go of the really difficult part of it, and the essence of what is left, which is now our cooked broccoli soup. When we imagine ourselves drinking that, we're actually finding the nourishment. We're finding the silver lining of what was once so, so difficult. And it's through that process of cooking it and cooking it and cooking it until you can find the silver lining and be at peace with it. That's when you know you've fully digested and healed whatever it is that was really, really challenging for you. So this might be a meditation that could take up to 45 minutes to chop and cook and find what is difficult and break that down and heat it up and soften it before you can find nourishment. Today was just a little sample, but it's one of my favorite meditations from Ayurveda. It's one that I use with a lot of people who are in chronic pain, because that connection between undigested emotions and chronic pain is so strong. And some people do it every single day. I've had cancer patients that are so upset and so angry about their cancer diagnosis, and they do it every single day and break it down and break it down and break it down until they find the nourishment. So if you'd like a copy of this meditation, I've written it out. I would also be happy to send that to you. You could, again, just email me at yoga@amywheeler.com, and I'd be happy to send you a copy of that. And it's been a really, really powerful meditation for me in my life, to help myself break down really difficult things, but also to work with my clients. So we have a few minutes for questions. We're right on track, which is very exciting. And I guess I need to go to my Facebook page or the HealthFlix page to try to figure out what the questions are. I am not seeing them, strangely. Maybe I should also have Facebook pulled up. I didn't want to have too many things happening at once because I felt a little worried that I wouldn't be able to manage all the tech and still stay focused on what I need to focus on. So let me see if I can pull up Facebook very briefly and feel comfortable with two or three forms of tech happening at one time. In the meantime, if you would like to type some of your questions in, feel free to do that until I can get in there and see what all of your questions are. All right, Heather, I'm not sure how to see all the questions. I see YouTube, but I don't see the questions coming in. So unfortunately, I'm sorry if I can't answer some of the questions. You could always just, again, email me if you have questions, if you have thoughts. I love to cultivate relationships and get to know people and be in relationships. So you can always email me at yoga@amywheeler.com to continue this discussion or to ask questions that you have. So thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. Namaste.